Kara Goodwin is the host of the Soul Elevation podcast, a skilled energy healer and a meditation guide whose work bridges the worlds of ascension, spiritual awakening, energy healing, and even extraterrestrial connections. She's also the author of Your Authentic Awakening, a guide to everyday spiritual living, a powerful guidebook for anyone ready to ditch spiritual imposter syndrome and start living a deeply aligned, authentic life. And whether she's guiding people through transformative practices or exploring the mysteries of consciousness, Kara's mission is clear. She's here to help us elevate our souls and align with our highest potential. I am thrilled to welcome Kara Goodwin to the show. Kara, nice to see you today again.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
We are here to answer the biggest questions of them all, right? The life's purpose. So let's just start that big. What does it actually mean to have a true soul purpose? Like, is it to sell crystals on Etsy?
Well, it's such a great question. And of course, it varies from person to person. But a lot of times what I find when we're going through a spiritual awakening is that we feel that our life has to change 180 degrees. And to some extent it does, because our whole perspective changes. You know, when we start waking up out of the surface level mainstream, what we've been sold, you cannot help when your perspective has changed for the world to be different. You know, just by the very virtue of your perspective changing, because you're the one that's living through your perspective. Yeah. So when you're looking through one facet of a prism, and then suddenly you're like, wait a minute, there's a whole other way to look at everything. It's very eye-opening. But a lot of times people think that then that means my 3D job is no longer relevant. I need to go and shift what I'm doing. I need to be a healer, or I need to sell crystals on Etsy. I love that. And thank God that there are people selling crystals on Etsy. I'm very grateful for that.
Yes, definitely.
But a lot of people confuse their career with their purpose, which I totally get, because we spend a lot of our time on our work, right? So it can be very tempting to say, like, I'm just going to ditch the whole thing. But our purpose is not necessarily how we make money. And I think that's a big shift for people, where I love when I see people who are working in, you know, they've had a full-on spiritual awakening and they're still a mail carrier for now. You know, they're still, I had a guest on who jokes, because now he's a psychic medium and he is doing that full time, but for a long time he was a mail carrier. And he says, I was delivering messages like during the day and spirit messages at night, you know, when he was kind of had a foot in both worlds. But it really is this ability to walk with a foot in each world. And I think that there is great opportunity there, because if everybody who had a spiritual awakening then turn their back on mainstream society, turn their back on working an office job, for example, where would we be? Like I feel that there is a community of souls, a big community of souls who is here on the planet right now, and we're scattered. You know, we've incarnated together over multiple lifetimes. We are mission driven in terms of raising the consciousness, but we're intentionally not all in one community, in one space, in one location, sequestered off, so that we can live here on earth in the way that we want to. And it's such a delicate balance, because it is our lives. So if we're stuck in a job, in a relationship, and with friends, and we can't see a reflection of how we feel in anybody, that is a hard place to be. So I'm not saying stay stuck because you have to be in service in this way and you have to be miserable because that's your mission. It's not that at all. You know, we continuously use our circumstances to feel our way, navigate our way through life. And it may be that it's most appropriate for us at this juncture in our life path to have more of a mainstream job. But that doesn't mean that we don't keep nurturing that spiritual awakening. There are so many resources out there right now, and we have the internet, which gives us access to that spiritual nourishment really easily. I mean, think of how many episodes you guys have, and people can be accessing that in their free time, and it is helping them to shift, and it's helping them to nurture that awakening. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they have to turn their back on their whole lives. And another, thing that I think another place where people get stuck is, they may be a certain amount of the way through their lives where they have a family, they have a spouse, they have children, and they may feel like, wait, I'm the only one who's awakened in my house. And there are people who do then run off to a cave and, go and leave their family and go and join a group. And I would just really, really encourage anybody who's feeling like that to deeply consider 360-degree ramifications of that. Because while that may feel like it's going to create wholeness in some part of us, if we think about your life's purpose, your karmic ties, the trauma that you create, the waves of trauma that you create through abandonment, we want to see a complete picture and really, really be sure when we're stepping away from something that we have participated in creating that would have deeply traumatic impacts on people.
I do like how you say you stress the importance of it. You don't have to quit your job or your one life, because I think that's a big fear that a lot of people have. If they start they're starting to wake up, they're starting to see and understand different things, they feel like, well, I have to leave this and become this other type of person. But that's not the case. We're all supposed to wake up it's like to amplify who we are. And part of, your job might be providing for your family or, teaching children or whatever. So I do think it's important to know that it doesn't have to be one or the other.
Exactly.
Well, and an argument could possibly be made for staying in place so that your example will help awaken others in that space that would not have had that example had you decided to remove yourself from the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And now that there are more resources like our podcasts or, just go online, you'll see that it's not just the, crazy old lady that lives with all the cats down the street. It's the doctor and the accountant and the lawyer and the pharmacist and the stay-at-home mom. Like everybody is starting to have these awakenings. And I think the internet, it's good and bad. But I think one of the good things is that you can find other people in that situation. You can be connected so you don't feel so isolated, which awakenings can often lead to.
Right. And that's not to say that having a lot of cats is crazy.
No, I love cats. We just need a bigger house and a dog that wouldn't eat them.
That's true. Yes, our dog would. Very hungry dog.
Because how fun would it be to have a lot of cats?
Quite. I settled for one, honestly. But all right. So that's beautifully said. That's a lesson that a lot of people really need to organically ingest inside themselves, because there is a big push towards picking up and going somewhere. Now, there is sometimes an occasion when a spiritual awakening happens that is so debilitating because it is so impactful in so many ways that someone might find it necessary to take some time for themselves to find a way through. But there are people there that can help with that and when it comes down to it.